Elias Vorn's boots scraped against the loose rock as the mine trembled beneath him. A deafening crack split the air, and a cloud of dust shot upward, stinging his eyes. He froze, heart hammering. Somewhere deep inside the mine, a shrill, panicked cry echoed, small, fragile, and desperate. Without thinking, he lunged forward, kicking aside a jagged boulder that had fallen across the path. His pulse raced. Something is alive down there. He could feel it. He had trained for emergencies in hostile environments, but this was different. The fear in the cry pierced him. It wasn't human. A shard of glowing rock clattered under his hand. His eyes adjusted to the dim light, revealing shapes barely visible in the dust. 4 tiny figures huddled together, their scales faintly glinting in a ghostly shimmer. They were small, almost no bigger than a human child, but their eyes glowed with intelligence and fear. Hatchlings, dragon hatchlings, lost and trapped. Elias crouched low, speaking in a calm, steady voice. "It's okay. I'm here. I won't leave you." The creatures hissed, backs arched, but they didn't flee. Their breaths came in short, rapid bursts, and one tiny clawed foot scraped the rock as if trying to move. They were scared, yes, but not vicious. He reached out slowly, letting them see he meant no harm. Then the mine rumbled violently. Dust fell from the ceiling, and a boulder the size of a small car shifted threateningly above his head. Elias threw himself sideways, narrowly avoiding being crushed. "If I hesitate, they die. If I run, I leave them to die." He gritted his teeth and started moving rocks with hands and shoulders, shifting debris to clear a path. One hatchling whimpered and his heart clenched. The weight of responsibility hit him hard. These creatures were helpless, and I am their only chance. Suddenly, a low rumble shook the entire tunnel. Small shards of rock fell like rain, and Elias realized the mine's walls weren't stable. Whoever, or whatever, built this place, it wasn't meant for comfort. The danger was everywhere, pressing in from all sides. One hatchling, smaller than the rest, crept toward him, its glow faint but steady. It pressed against his arm, trembling. Elias smiled despite the fear. That small connection gave him courage. "I can save them. I have to." He grabbed a piece of jagged metal and jammed it under a falling stone, holding it just long enough to pull another boulder free. The hatchlings followed his movement with wide, intelligent eyes, as if they understood he was their protector. Then, from deeper within the darkness came another sound. A soft scratching, deliberate, too big to belong to the hatchlings. Elias froze. His mind raced. What else is in here? Another creature? Or something worse? He shined his helmet light toward the noise. Shadows shifted, long and thin, dancing across the walls. Nothing moved in plain sight, but the scratching continued, closer now, deliberate. His heart jumped. The hatchlings hissed, backs raised, sensing the presence. Fear and curiosity collided in the tight space. Elias swallowed. "Stay close. Don't move," he whispered. He scanned for an escape route, noticing faint, glowing lines along the wall, strange symbols etched into the stone. They pulsed faintly when the hatchlings moved near. He bent down to look closer. Alien? Ancient? Why here? Before he could ponder, another tremor shook the mine. Dust filled the air, making his eyes water. One hatchling shrieked and darted forward, knocking against his chest. He caught it instinctively, hugging it to his shoulder. A small, warm nuzzle pressed against his neck, a fragile gesture of trust. "They are counting on me. I cannot fail." Elias worked rapidly, clearing a small corridor while keeping one eye on the unseen threat scratching deeper in the shadows. Every movement had to be precise. One false step, one moment of hesitation, and the mine could collapse entirely. He felt sweat and dust coat his skin, but he did not stop. A sudden crack echoed louder than before, and a section of the wall collapsed behind him, cutting off any way back. The hatchlings froze, their glowing eyes wide with fear. Elias grabbed the nearest one, pulled it close, and scanned the dark tunnel ahead. He realized the only way out was forward, into the unknown, toward the strange scratching, and deeper into a mine that could kill him at any moment. He took a deep breath, his mind sharp, his resolve unshakable. "I will not leave them, no matter what comes next." Then, from the darkness ahead, 2 glowing eyes blinked slowly at him, much larger than the hatchlings, and a low, guttural growl rumbled through the rock. The hatchlings hissed and pressed against him, trembling, but Elias held them tight. His pulse surged. This was no longer just a mine. Something else was waiting. Something alive and watching. Elias whispered to the hatchlings, "Hold on. Whatever this is, we face it together." And as the ground shivered beneath his feet again, a rock the size of a door cracked loose from the ceiling, falling straight toward him. Elias's heart slammed against his ribs as the massive rock crashed inches from where he crouched. Dust and rubble filled the air, stinging his eyes and throat. He coughed violently, swiping at the dust, but his hands were full, 3 hatchlings pressed to his chest, glowing faintly in panic. The smallest one squirmed violently in his grip. He could feel its tiny heartbeat against his own. I cannot fail them. Not now. The mine groaned long, deep, like it was alive. Every step forward sent vibrations shuddering through the walls. Rocks tumbled unpredictably, and thin cracks snaked along the ceiling above him. Elias knew the tunnel would not hold for long. He needed a plan, and fast. He looked around quickly, scanning the rubble-strewn corridor. Narrow passageways branched off, but most were blocked by fallen beams and jagged stone. One route led slightly upward, the rock ceiling sloping like a wave, a faint glimmer of light flickering at its end. It was dangerous, but it was their only chance. Hold still, he whispered to the hatchlings. He gently nuzzled the smallest one, as if offering reassurance he could barely feel himself. They were terrified, but they trusted him. That trust gives me strength. Elias grabbed a twisted metal rod from the debris and began wedging it under unstable boulders, testing the weight. Each shift of stone made the hatchlings squeak and hiss. He winced at each sound, knowing even a small noise could trigger more collapses. Or worse, attract the unknown creature lurking in the dark. Then the scratching began again. Slow. Deliberate. Closer. Something large was moving in the shadows, silent but deliberate, circling them like a predator. Elias froze, straining his ears. The hatchlings hissed in sync, their tiny claws scraping his jacket. He realized he could not wait. Hesitation would kill them. He yanked a half-broken ladder from the side of the tunnel, propping it against a slanted wall. One hatchling clung to his shoulder, while the others followed instinctively. With a careful breath, he climbed, pulling them along. Each rung creaked under his weight. Each second felt like a minute. A sudden tremor shook the mine again, and a chunk of rock fell onto the ladder, sending it tipping dangerously. Elias grabbed it, twisted, and used his shoulder to stabilize the hatchlings. One tumbled, squealing, and he caught it midair, heart pounding so hard he thought it would burst. Every move matters. One mistake and we're gone. Finally, he reached a small ledge, momentarily safe. He set the hatchlings down, checking their tiny glowing eyes. Their fear mirrored his own, but he forced a reassuring smile. We are not done yet. Elias's attention snapped to the walls. The strange glowing symbols from before pulsed faintly, reacting to the hatchlings' presence. They were alien in design, intricate, almost alive. Curiosity gnawed at him, but now was not the time to ponder their meaning. Survival came first. Another tremor, stronger this time. Dust rained down like snow. Elias had to move quickly. He decided to create a temporary bridge using fallen beams and jagged rocks. It was risky, one misstep and he could send all 4 hatchlings plummeting into a dark abyss. But hesitation was worse. He positioned the first hatchling on the edge, holding it tightly as he extended a beam across a gap. The hatchling's tiny claws scraped the wood, and its body quivered. Elias whispered softly, "I'm right here. Just trust me." The creature tilted its head, a faint shiver passing through it, but it followed his guidance. The small payoff, a single hatchling safely across the gap, ignited a surge of hope. "We can do this." He repeated the process with the others, each move more dangerous than the last. Rocks crumbled underfoot, dust clouds stung, and the unknown presence somewhere deeper in the tunnel continued to shift. Each successful crossing built confidence, each failure would have been fatal. As they progressed, Elias noticed something unsettling. The tunnel ahead narrowed sharply, walls slick with a strange black residue. The hatchlings hissed again, not in fear but warning. The residue pulsed faintly, like it was responding to movement, reacting to their presence. "What is this?" The question burned in his mind, but there was no time for answers. A sudden rumble beneath them made the ground quake violently. The hatchlings clung to him, trembling. Rocks tumbled around them. He shouted instinctively, "Hold on." He shifted a beam to block falling debris and yanked the hatchlings closer to his chest. One rock bounced off the wall, narrowly missing his head. Every second counts. Then, without warning, a deep growl reverberated through the tunnel. Elias froze, realizing it was close. Much closer than before. The hatchlings shrieked and pressed against him, but he refused to panic. He scanned quickly for options, his mind racing. Forward is the only way. There's no turning back. With a decisive motion, he grabbed a heavy chunk of debris, using it to wedge open a collapsing side passage. Dust and pebbles rained down, but the path held. He led the hatchlings toward it, their glowing bodies illuminating the corridor. The growl followed, but now it was joined by a scraping sound, fast, deliberate, closing in. Elias's pulse surged. We have to move faster. We can't outrun a mine collapse, and we can't confront whatever is out there unprepared. He pulled the hatchlings into a narrow nook, crouching low. Their tiny bodies pressed against him. One hissed and peeped softly, a fragile trust forming in the moment. Suddenly, a section of the ceiling cracked loudly, sending a rain of dust and small rocks over them. Elias coughed, shielding the hatchlings. When the dust cleared, he saw something impossible. The largest hatchling lifted its head and hissed, a small glow from its throat pulsing like a warning light. Elias stared ahead, heart pounding. Deeper in the darkness, faint shadows moved in ways that didn't match the mine's natural formations. Eyes glinted, too large and too deliberate. The growl had grown louder, closer, and now something was watching, waiting. Elias hugged the hatchlings tighter. We're not alone. And whatever comes next, we'll test every bit of courage I have. Elias pressed the hatchlings close as he edged forward, the mine trembling beneath him with every step. The growl from deeper inside the tunnel had faded, but the shadows shifted unnaturally as if the mine itself was alive. His pulse thumped in his ears. We can't stop. One mistake and we're buried. The passage narrowed sharply, walls slick with the black residue that had glowed faintly before. He ducked under a jagged overhang, brushing dust from his helmet visor. The hatchlings' faint glows pulsed nervously against his chest, their warmth a fragile comfort amid the darkness. Suddenly, his foot struck a hollow section of the floor. He froze. Beneath the thin layer of rock, there was space, large enough to swallow one of the hatchlings. Carefully, he tested it with a metal rod. The floor shifted slightly but held. This entire mine could be a trap. His jaw tightened. One wrong step now and death was instant. Elias looked ahead and noticed a faint eerie light coming from a narrow fissure in the wall. Not the faint glow of the hatchlings this time, something brighter, more deliberate. He approached slowly, heart hammering, the hatchlings clinging to him instinctively. Their eyes widened at the light, reflecting it back like tiny lanterns. The fissure opened into a hidden chamber. Elias paused, taking in the sight. Hundreds of dragon eggs, some still incubating, lay scattered across smooth stone platforms. A few had tiny cracks, faint movements visible within. The air smelled strange, earthy, metallic, and faintly sweet. The glow from the eggs matched the light of the hatchlings, pulsing as if breathing. Elias's mind raced. More hatchlings? Why were they left here? And by whom? He stepped carefully, mindful of the unstable floor and the fragile lives surrounding him. Each footfall was measured, precise. Then the unexpected happened. A soft hum filled the chamber, almost melodic, resonating through the walls. His hand brushed against one egg, and a holographic image flickered into existence above it. Ghostly, translucent shapes, alien figures, watched over the eggs, moving delicately as if tending to them. A message of some kind played, but the symbols were alien. Elias studied them, noticing a pattern, the same glowing symbols that had lined the mine walls. The hatchlings on his shoulder pressed close, as if sensing the import of the moment. Elias's mind raced. These dragons weren't just abandoned. They were engineered, observed, raised for a purpose. The thought sent a shiver down his spine. Their existence was deliberate, part of something larger than him, larger than the mine, larger than anything he had ever imagined. He knelt, examining a broken egg. Inside, the tiny dragon flicked its wings, glowing faintly. It looked at him with wide, intelligent eyes. You're their guardian, he whispered. The hatchling chirped softly, nudging his hand. Small payoff but significant. A bond was forming. Elias realized he couldn't save them by brute force alone. The mine was collapsing and some eggs might not survive the tremors. He scanned the chamber and noticed remnants of alien machinery, a device with pulsating conduits, aligned precisely with the eggs' platforms. Hesitating only a moment, he touched it. The hum intensified, and the chamber vibrated slightly under his hand. With careful adjustments, turning dials, pressing etched panels, he managed to stabilize the platforms, halting minor tremors. The eggs pulsed in response, almost in gratitude. Elias's mind raced. I'm manipulating alien tech I don't understand, and it's working. HFY moment. Human intelligence and courage, using intuition and quick thinking, making the impossible possible. The hatchlings on his shoulder and arms chirped and hissed softly. One, braver than the rest, pressed its snout to his helmet visor. Elias smiled, A brief moment of light in the suffocating darkness. They trust me, and I will not let them down. Suddenly, a louder rumble shook the chamber. Dust and small pebbles fell from the ceiling. Elias looked up and froze. Part of the rock formation above the eggs had cracked, precarious, ready to collapse. The floor beneath them quivered. Time is running out. A shadow flickered at the far edge of the chamber. Large, deliberate, and moving with intent. Elias's breath caught. The growl from before, this was it, the source. Whatever had been circling the mine was now here, drawn to the light, drawn to the hatchlings. His heart pounded, but he did not panic. I protect them. I fight if I have to. He quickly scanned the chamber. A narrow ledge led toward a side tunnel, the only escape route if the shadow attacked. He positioned the hatchlings carefully, holding the bravest against his chest, the others pressed close to him. Every motion was deliberate, measured. The alien devices hummed, pulsating in rhythm with the hatchlings' glows. Then the shadow moved closer. Two enormous eyes blinked in the dim light. The growl deepened, a vibration that rattled the chamber walls. Elias gritted his teeth. Forward is the only option. He tightened his hold on the hatchlings and whispered, "We leave together. No one gets left behind." As he stepped onto the narrow ledge, the floor beneath him shuddered. A crack spread across the chamber, wide and deep. The eggs rocked perilously. One fell slightly, its tiny crack widening. Elias lunged, catching it just in time, clutching it to his chest. The hatchlings chirped loudly, pressing against him in response. Small payoff, he saved a life, reinforcing trust. But the rumbling grew louder, and the shadow advanced, bigger than the tunnel could contain. Elias's pulse surged. He had no idea what it was, but he knew one thing. Leaving now meant survival but also confrontation. And I will not leave them. Not one. The alien hum intensified, reacting to the presence of the intruder. Lights pulsed along the walls, bathing the chamber in a faint, otherworldly glow. The hatchlings pressed against him, trembling, but resolute. Elias took a deep breath, muscles coiled, mind sharp. Whatever is coming, we face it together. Elias's heart pounded as the shadow crept closer, the growl echoing through the hidden chamber like rolling thunder. The hatchlings pressed against him, trembling but refusing to hide. He could feel their small, beating hearts against his chest, and a surge of determination lit his nerves. I won't let anything touch them. The creature stepped fully into the dim glow. It was massive, tall, with sinewy limbs and scales that shimmered black against the faint light. Its eyes were enormous, reflective, intelligent. The growl deepened, vibrating through the stone floor, shaking loose dust and pebbles. Elias could hear the mine beginning to collapse around them. Time was slipping through his fingers. He backed slowly, carrying one hatchling against his chest, the other three pressed close. Every step had to be careful. One misstep and the floor could give way. The eggs teetered on their platforms, some cracked, some pulsing in eerie light. The alien device hummed louder, reacting to the creature, the hatchlings, and Elias. I can't let it destroy them. I have to use it. Elias's mind raced. He grabbed a loose metal rod and slashed it across the nearest conduit, redirecting energy toward the alien device. Sparks flew, arcs of light dancing along the walls. The device pulsed brighter, sending waves of vibration through the chamber. The creature froze, tilting its massive head, eyes narrowing in curiosity and caution. A tremor rattled the ceiling, dislodging rocks. Elias ducked, clutching the hatchlings. One boulder crashed mere inches away, sending shards flying. He barely had time to react. Every second counts. One mistake and it's over. He spotted a narrow ledge on the far side of the chamber, an escape route if he could reach it. But the shadow blocked the way. The creature moved deliberately, circling, testing their courage. The hatchlings hissed and chirped, raising their tiny wings as if trying to warn him. Elias's jaw tightened. He understood them now. They are not just scared, they are brave too. Elias took a deep breath and made his move. With one swift step, he lunged toward the ledge, holding the largest hatchling against his chest. Rocks tumbled behind him, dust choking the air. The shadow lunged and Elias dodged instinctively, rolling across the uneven floor. A shard of rock struck the alien device, sending a surge of energy through the chamber. Lights flared and the shadow hissed, backing off for just a moment. He grabbed the second hatchling, running across the unstable floor. His mind worked at lightning speed. If I can manipulate the device, I can create a shield, or at least distract it long enough to escape. He reached out, pressing buttons and shifting levers, forcing the alien tech to resonate in a high-pitched pulse. The chamber vibrated violently, and the shadow shrieked in confusion, stumbling back. Small payoff, Elias bought precious seconds. The tremors grew worse, shaking loose massive rocks from the ceiling. Dust poured down, blinding him, and one hatchling squealed in fear. Elias lunged, catching it mid-fall, clutching it tight. The last hatchling darted ahead, wings flaring. He chased it, heart pounding so hard he could feel it in his throat. Rocks rained from above, and the black residue slicked the ledge, threatening to send him plummeting into the abyss. Finally he reached the ledge. One step and the hatchlings were across, safer, but not yet out. He adjusted the alien device's controls, creating a pulse that knocked loose stones and sent a temporary shockwave through the chamber. The shadow reeled, stumbling against the walls. Elias's muscles burned, but he didn't hesitate. He scooped the last hatchling, pressing it to his chest. His boots slipped on the slick residue, but he clawed forward, fingers digging into stone. The alien pulse flared again, illuminating the chamber, bathing the hatchlings in a protective glow. The shadow hesitated, hissed, then retreated slightly into the darkness, wary of the energy. He lunged, grabbing a hanging beam and swinging himself onto a small platform that jutted from the wall. One by one he set the hatchlings down safely, their glowing eyes reflecting the pulsing light of the device. A wave of relief surged through him, but it was brief. Another tremor struck, and the ceiling above the eggs cracked dramatically, sending shards raining down. Elias dove, pushing the hatchlings out of the way as rocks clattered around him. One piece struck his shoulder, bruising but not stopping him. He scrambled, guiding the hatchlings toward the narrow tunnel leading out. The alien device hummed wildly, reacting to every vibration, every heartbeat. Elias realized it was almost alive, somehow attuned to the dragon's energy. The last stretch was the most dangerous. The floor beneath them had split, leaving a gap they had to leap across. Elias crouched low, holding the hatchlings tight. He whispered, "We jump together. Trust me." With a burst of strength, he vaulted across the gap, landing hard. The hatchlings squeaked but remained in his arms. A massive section of the ceiling collapsed behind them, dust and rock crashing down. Elias didn't look back. He led the hatchlings down the tunnel, breath ragged, every muscle screaming. The growl of the shadow faded, replaced by the steady echo of their steps on stone. At last, the tunnel opened into a wider chamber, one that seemed partially stable. Elias collapsed against the wall, sweat and dust coating him. The hatchlings chirped softly, nuzzling him. One brushed its glowing snout against his cheek. Small payoff, he had kept them alive. He had done what no one else could. His chest heaved as he surveyed the alien symbols along the walls. They pulsed softly now, calm, almost as if acknowledging his success. Elias realized he had not only survived, but he had protected something extraordinary. Something that could change everything if it survived. But as he looked ahead, toward the faint glimmer of light signaling the mine's exit, he noticed movement. Another shadow, much larger, gliding silently along the walls of the far tunnel. It paused, eyes glinting, observing. Elias's pulse quickened again. This isn't over. Not yet. He tightened his grip on the hatchlings, determination blazing in his chest. Whatever waited in the darkness, he would face it. He had already risked everything for them and he would do it again. We're not done. This is only the beginning. Elias pressed the hatchlings close as he stepped into the wider chamber. Dust hung in the air, glowing faintly from their scales, giving the place an otherworldly shimmer. His muscles burned and his lungs ached from the dust and exertion, but relief coursed through him. All four were alive. All four had trusted him, and he had not failed them. The mine trembled one last time, smaller now, like it was giving up, yielding to their escape. Elias surveyed the chamber, careful not to let his guard down. The alien symbols along the walls glowed faintly, pulsing gently, as if acknowledging that the hatchlings, and their human guardian, had survived the trial. We made it this far. But the mine isn't done testing us. The hatchlings chirped softly, glowing brighter, brushing against him in small, reassuring movements. One brushed its tiny head against his cheek, and he felt an almost electric warmth. They were alive, they were safe, and they trusted him completely. That small bond, fragile yet fierce, gave Elias a surge of emotion he hadn't felt in months. I've been tested before. But nothing like this. He guided them carefully through the narrow tunnels, every step deliberate. The debris behind them was unstable, and the faint glimmer of light from the exit wavered as if the mine itself was uncertain whether to let them leave. Elias carried the smallest hatchling, letting the others follow, wings brushing his arms. Each step was measured, every movement precise. He had learned to move in rhythm with the mine, predicting its tremors, avoiding its traps. Finally, they reached a wider chamber where natural light from a crack in the rock fell like a beam of hope. Elias exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of exhaustion settle over him. The hatchlings chirped, flapping tiny wings. One, the boldest, nudged him as if to say, "We're ready now." Elias looked at them, heart swelling. "You're free," he whispered. The words carried weight. Not just freedom from the mine, but from fear, from uncertainty, from the danger that had surrounded them since birth. "I've given you a chance at life. Now live." He lowered the hatchlings gently onto a ledge near the light. They climbed, chirped, and explored, tiny claws scrabbling over stone. One pressed against his leg, glowing faintly in trust. Elias smiled, feeling something he hadn't felt in years: hope. Small payoff, survival, trust, and connection. "Against impossible odds we made it." The mine groaned behind them, the tremors fading, leaving only silence. Elias finally allowed himself to lean back, arms resting, eyes scanning the hatchlings. Each one was vibrant, alert, and alive. The weight of responsibility lifted slightly, replaced by a quiet pride. "I protected them. I kept my promise." But as he observed them, one hatchling lifted its head and tilted toward the sky, its glow brightening. Elias followed its gaze. A faint, shimmering shape hovered in the distance above the mine. A ship, sleek and alien, glinting faintly in the sunlight. It wasn't moving aggressively, but it watched, silent and deliberate. Elias's pulse quickened. He had saved the hatchlings, yes, but now he realized their story was far from over. Whoever, or whatever, had left the eggs in the mine had not given up on them. And now, the larger galaxy was taking notice. "This is bigger than me. Bigger than the mine. Bigger than these 4 hatchlings." He crouched, gathering the hatchlings close. One nuzzled him softly, another chirped a tiny note of encouragement. Their trust and resilience reflected his own. Every risk, every heartbeat in the collapsing mine had been worth it. But the world outside, the galaxy, the alien watchers, the mystery of the dragon's origin, was waiting. And I will not let them face it unprepared. Elias straightened, determination settling over him like armor. He would protect them, guide them, and face whatever came next. The hatchlings looked at him, bright-eyed, unafraid now. They had survived the darkness with him. They would survive whatever came next because of him. Human courage, intelligence, and compassion had made this possible. A soft wind drifted through the mine's exit, carrying dust and the faint hum of distant alien engines. Elias glanced upward. The hatchlings chirped again, wings flaring in instinctive excitement. One leapt forward, exploring the rocks near the exit, daring, curious. He smiled faintly. "They're ready for what's next. And so am I." As they stepped fully into the sunlight, the shadows of the mine receding behind them, Elias's mind drifted to the faint shimmer above. The alien ship lingered, watching, patient, deliberate. Questions raced through his mind. Who left the eggs? Why here? What would the ship do now? Could he face it, protect them, and uncover the truth? One hatchling chirped and pressed against his leg, a small pulse of warmth that grounded him. He knelt, brushing a hand across its glowing scales. "We've come this far," he murmured. "And we're just getting started." The hatchlings flared their wings, glowing brighter than ever. Elias felt a surge of pride, courage, and resolve. Humans can shine. We can endure. We can protect what matters even when everything seems impossible. He had faced death, alien mysteries, collapsing tunnels, and enormous creatures, and he had prevailed. A faint rumble echoed from the mine behind them, a whisper of danger lingering in the shadows. The alien ship remained, still hovering, still watching. Elias tightened his grip on the hatchlings, heart steady. They had survived the mine, but the galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and full of challenges yet unseen. "And I will face them all. Together." The hatchlings chirped once more, glowing brightly, looking up at the ship. Elias smiled, heart resolute. The journey was far from over. But for now they were alive. They were safe. And the human who refused to leave their side had proven that courage, intelligence, and empathy could shine even in the darkest places. The faint shimmer of the alien ship lingered above, a subtle hint of mysteries yet to come. The adventure was only beginning.